Hello, everyone. I hope everyone is doing fine on this Friday afternoon and that you're ready for another next live. This week, I have a friend on the live together. We'll be talking with Lou Kennedy. Lou, she's the president, the CEO, and the owner of Nephron Pharmaceuticals, and it's a certified woman-owned business. You have We're gonna be talking throughout the hour. There's so many things to say. If I start talking about the listing of things, we will be done with the hour before we get started. Lou, how are you doing today?
Great, Rami. Thank you for inviting me to do this on a nice Friday afternoon.
That's awesome. So, awaiting folks to join in. There is tons of people that are saying hi to us. It would be interesting for everyone listening to us if you can say hi and from where you're logging in. Lou, you're going to be surprised how much international audience are listening to us today. So, please, if you can just put hi and say where where you're joining us from, that would be very, very interesting. So, Lou, how do we go? So we're going to be talking about manufacturing innovation, and it's always interesting when we talk about when we talk together. You tell me, I don't know if we are a manufacturing company, an innovation company, a pharmaceutical company. I guess it's like today, it's a little bit of everything. So tell me. And I see also folks saying hi. Okay, so before I ask you, just want to show you. This is we have from New York, we have from Bahrain, we have from India. Hey Harman, we have from Luxembourg, we have from Lebanon, we have from Michigan, Canada. As you can see, pretty much international audience. And also we have a hi from Nephron. So Ellison is saying hi, and from the UK, and so on. So this is awesome. Lou, how do you? First of all, what does woman-owned business means? Let's start with that.
Well, they actually certify that you're a woman-owned business. So they come to your facility. You usually give them a tour. They have a variety of questions. You have to prove, um, you know, banking. I would say, the percentage ownership that you have of the company, what you know about the company. They basically want to see that you are legitimate and that you really are responsible for what you say you're responsible for. So we had the NWBOC, National Women. Anyway, they came in and certified us, and we also sent it into another group. So I was quite proud of that because we always meant to do it. And finally, we got around to doing it probably 2011, 12-ish, something like that. And I did a count this week for a women in pharma panel I attended. And we have about, let's see, 6 men responsible for different departments. And we have over 16 women responsible for all the rest. So we truly are, it's not just about me. We really are very, very, I think there are 53% of our company are women. So we have a very diverse company too. We have over 41 countries represented, including Lebanon. And we are pretty proud of that fact. I was worried when we came to South Carolina that it wouldn't be as diverse as when our company was headquartered in Florida. So we have a big wall at Nephron where all the flags of the 41 countries are displayed. And it's very, it's humbling to me when I take people on a tour because the studies show that the more diverse you are, the more productive you are. And you have, all different points of view and different cultures really does, I think, make you better. And so I'm delighted with the fact we only had 35 countries in Florida, and we have 41 here. And I do think that the University of South Carolina helps us because students come from abroad and oftentimes end up taking a job or staying here once they come to South Carolina. And I think it's a great benefit that we're only about 15 minutes from the university.
That's awesome. So you're talking about almost 53% hires. So I firmly believe, I fundamentally believe that if you want a good procedure or a good environment, it has to be representative of the society. And sometimes it baffles me that we only have one female faculty in our department. Like it shocks me. So I feel like we don't really do well in representing everyone's opinion so that we understand things. So I think this is awesome. So you have around 2,000 employees, is that true?
Yeah, there are about 1,100 full time, and then we have a cool thing called our educator program, and started it a little over a year ago, and we reached out to the education community, teachers from K through 12, higher ed, technical college system, and the teachers can come into our facility and work a 4-hour shift, a Saturday, a Sunday, and then around their school. And of course, we benefited with school session being e-learning these past few months because the teachers are even more available. But we pay them 21 bucks an hour, which is a really nice rate which demonstrates really what the starting teacher salary is for, let's say, an elementary school teacher in our state. I just prorated it and we came up with the number $21 an hour. And believe it or not, the Department of Employment and Workforce came to me and questioned me about how we do the program. We use an app called deputy.com to be able to ping the teachers on their phone, and then they can take a shift instantly from their phone. And say we need 75 or 100 for a given 4-hour period in the afternoon, we reach out via deputy and they answer right back. So we know that we'll be well staffed and have enough people. And we love the fact that these educators write legibly. They come in and are very inquisitive, and it really has been a great program. You know, they keep us on our toes, and we chose the color red for the scrubs for the teachers, like a teacher's red apple. So even the color interspersed across the facility is cheerful. But the Department of Employment and Workforce actually picked up the program and have done the same thing with firefighters and policemen in some companies across the state that was having trouble getting enough labor.
So you guys started this initiative, and then from that, it is going to.
Yeah, well, the NBC Nightly News found out about it and came to our facility. Kate Snow, the really pretty anchor, was there, interviewed one of the teachers, followed them from morning when she was getting her own children off to school, how she was in the classroom. It's really good. And they've aired it a couple times since on NBC, and we were very proud of it. And then I have to tell you that we always have at minimum 100 students of every discipline, a few high school students, but mostly college and technical school students, technical college students all the time, and various different apprentice programs. We have a welding and kind of mechatronics program going with Orangeburg Calhoun Tech. We have a sterile pharmacy tech program with one of the high school districts, as well as Midlands Technical College, a component of the class. They have to go to USC. And it gives them, I think it's 23 and a half credits to get the sterile course from USC, and then they get their certification in sterile pharmacy technician. So we've got, and that one's sanctioned by Department of Labor. So we are all about education. We love it. My mom was a teacher for 40 years in first grade. So my dad taught at machine tool and die at the technical college for 15 years at night. So I have a little bit of, I guess, educator in me.
I want to profit from that moment to say that educators today, they are really, really, really like going above and beyond with what's going on. And I want to shout out to, I mean, I've seen impressive educators. I had a parent-teacher conference this morning, and I had to tell the teacher 10 times she's amazing, because they don't have this like anymore face-to-face contact, and they feel left out, and this is very disheartening, and everyone is struggling, but they're doing a great job. And to see and to hear such a program, it's really, really, really good. I want to ask you something. Nephron is a nationwide leader in manufacturing of opioid-free pain management drugs. I mean, this is big. This is huge. This is very, very important. We all know about these crises and so on. So, and you guys produce 1 billion doses of life-saving medication. So, what's the main business of Nephron?
Okay, so for 23 years, we've been in the sterile respiratory medication business. So if you've ever had a family member with asthma or emphysema, you know there's a little machine called a nebulizer. You take our liquid medication, twist off the top, put it in a nebulizer, and breathe it in a fine mist, which opens your airways and allows you to get more oxygen into your lungs and feel better. And so we ship 1 billion doses a year, every year, at least 100 million a month. Now, in March, when everybody was scared to death about the very height of the pandemic, I believe people just started ordering any kind of respiratory med they could. And we saw our business jump by 140%. We shipped out that month, I think 100 and I don't know, it was almost 200 million, I think, 150 million, something like that, of respiratory meds. Now, in the last 3 years, the focus has been on a new division of our company where we make about 50 or 60 sterile injectable meds. And that being said, we have various categories. OR anesthesia suite products where you maybe put a patient to sleep and wake them back up. We have the category of the opioid-free drugs we're very, very proud of. And we're really trying to make an effort to teach physicians to reach for those types of drugs first before the opioids. We do controlled substances, and we do dialysis products. And we thought that was very important because for all those years we've been making respiratory meds, yet our name would indicate we have something to do with the kidneys, since nephron is a cell in the kidneys. So about a year or so ago, we added trisodium citrate, which is a dialysis product. So I've finally been able to legitimize the name of our company.
So I mean, what's on everyone's mind, and what we're gonna talk about a little bit is, of course, we're gonna mention COVID and COVID-19, and I mean, Nephron has been on the front lines of nationwide COVID response. I know that you've been appointed yourself by the Governor Henry McMaster to accelerate SC, and this is the coordinated effort within South Carolina to for COVID-19 advisory and recovery team. So there's so many questions that I have. But first of all, talk to me a little bit about, like, what does it mean for Nephron to have such a, like, disruptive thing, and how did you guys react to it, and what are some of the things that you guys have done to play in an important role in what's happening nowadays?
So that first part, well, early in February, we got wind that we would be likely experiencing shortages in our personal protective gear. So I asked our procurement team to really make sure that we had adequate supply. We ordered a little bit extra. We hid stuff in a warehouse away from the facility to make sure that we would have enough masks and things that we needed, because we operate so many clean rooms and we have to have the full bunny suits and goggles and all of those things. So that was the very first thing. Second thing we did is the agency, FDA, asked us to make hand sanitizer per their instructions. So we immediately sourced out bottles, pumps, and so forth. And in fact, provided about 130,000 little bottles of hand sanitizer and private labeled them, keep it clean, U of SC. So we had Gamecock hand sanitizer, and we still make that today. I decided that if even 2 of our employees were to get sick, we could probably pay for some of the testing equipment. So I quickly ordered PCR sequence testing equipment from Thermo Fisher. I ordered serology testing equipment from Abbott Labs, and we stood up and got certified a CLIA laboratory. And lo and behold, I had at least 4 or 5 molecular biologists, some of whom have been employed or teaching at USC. So we were able to be in the, honestly, I built that lab out in 3 weeks, and the equipment started arriving. And since that time, we worked with both Clemson and the University of South Carolina to help them open up their own CLIA laboratories. We bought some pipetting equipment and donated to both Coastal Carolina, USC, and Clemson to help out with their trying to get students back on campus. We are currently testing the SEC athletes at USC, all sports, and have been for several months now, trying to help them stay safe and make sure they do appropriate quarantining where necessary. And beyond that, we're partnering with about 4 or 5 companies from here all the way to Israel in COVID ideas that they have for treatment of symptoms, where we're doing either the laboratory work, the manufacturing work, or other development activities to help them with that. And, if you look at the COVID hot list for drugs that are needed, there are about 30 of them on that list. We're currently manufacturing 25 of them. So everything from propofol to midazolam to, just various different respiratory treatments, as well as treatments to be used if a patient has to be put to sleep in order to get on a ventilator. We've been very active. When New York was experiencing the height of their problems, we donated about, a pallet's worth of breathing machines and equipments to be given out in those tent cities that were at the Javits Center and so forth. We've donated lots of hand sanitizer during this time to our policemen and so forth.
I mean, at USC, every time we have a report, we say Nephron did this to USC, Nephron did that to USC. So I know the vital role that you've played into making sure that USC campus is open. And honestly, I am very pleasantly surprised that we are open and business, we're still at the new normal with this dashboard. I think President Kaslan has done a terrific job when it comes to managing all of these pieces, and it wouldn't happen without your support. He actually says our friends at Nephron, and I like that when I hear it.
Thank you very much.
Friends coming in, Joe Queenan saying this is awesome. There is a Noble, he's saying that what you mentioned about smart teams can do amazing things, but diverse teams, when you include what the society have, will do impossible things. So
Rami, I have to make a comment on Noble's post there. You are absolutely right. It's one thing to be diverse and be employed. It's another thing to have a seat at the table and have a voice. And everything we do at our company is really a team approach. And so and you know that a couple of your own students have recently taken jobs. They can tell you, we believe in letting every engineer have a voice and an idea, and all will be considered. So many companies years ago, a starting engineer maybe did drawings for an older engineer or a veteran engineer. We want everybody to feel like they have a part of design, elements of research, all of that. And our engineering team is very diverse. We have several females. We have folks from different countries on that team. And so I'm very proud of that diversity. And I agree with Noble, inclusion is important.
So when you were talking about so many professional things you've done to switch gears and make sure that Nephron helps in whatever is needed, from hand sanitizers to medicines on the shortage list and so on, you said, and we donated, and we donated, and we, the amount of philanthropy that is remarkable. I mean, and this is, you devote, I know from personal experience, we needed you to come to talk to our undergraduate researchers. You came, and it was 2 years ago, you came, you spent the morning with them, you were telling them how to be motivated, how to, leadership skills and so on. So how do you do that? How do you manage billions of dollars and a company with almost 2,000 employees, and keep time for philanthropy and I mean, like, how do you balance these things?
Well, I don't think I am very balanced. I think number one, I'm an adrenaline junkie and I'm always moving. I mean, this is the longest I might sit in one place at all today, right? And I'm so fortunate that the Nephron team, the family, everybody is so responsible and carries their own weight, and it's just a group effort. And my daughter and son-in-law work at our company. My husband's at the company, so my family time really just overlaps with work time, which is a benefit. It allows me to see them. Otherwise, I'd be working all the time. And um, my husband nicknamed me years ago Vicky Volunteer, and sometimes it bothers him. He thinks I should be focused 150% on work only. But I find that doing things, for example, with the students at USC is a recruiting tool. So it actually is a part of business. If you're present in the community, people know that you're hiring. I mean, I never miss an opportunity to tell people in any group setting, hey, we're hiring. Check out our website. We might have something that someone you or your family member is interested in or something different. So I think that being involved in the community is just a good way to show that your company cares, and people like to be a part of a group that care. I can't tell you how many times someone might walk up to me in the hall and say, thank you for supporting the leukemia society. My father had leukemia, and that's meaningful. Or all the people, like right now we're having special t-shirts made for the breast cancer walk because one of the ladies in our HR is fighting stage 3 breast cancer. So we try to do things that are meaningful to the Nephron family. We certainly support the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation because we make the meds that treat that disease and others like that, lung disease, and we try to support those things. We've been big supporters of the Heart Association. Now on the board of the Red Cross, and we've bought a vehicle that will be used to transport blood to the hospitals that we call on. And I find that's a very important mission. So many great things that the Red Cross does and around the world. And so I'm pleased to be a part of that group. But I probably should learn to say no a few times, Rami. It's not a really it's not a good skill that I have. I'm pretty much, okay, I'll do it. Okay, I'll do it.
So when you learn how to say no, please give me a call and tell me how, so that I can also learn that skill, because I'm a little bit like you. I'm like, why did I say yes? What just happened to me? I mean, there's so much we can talk about philanthropy. There's so many causes you support. Is there one cause that is particularly dear to your heart? Like, if I tell you, what's the thing that the dearest to your heart? Is there one of them?
Well, there are a lot of them, but recently I have been just really moved by something that Congressman Clyburn told me last summer, August, over a year ago. And he told me a story about some children in a rural part of South Carolina that the dad had to go around and pick up a bunch of the kids to take them to a local fast food place, maybe 20, 30 minutes away, because they didn't have access to the internet to do their homework. And I mean, it just, got my heart. So it really became, and to raise our focus for all of us, how many people we couldn't reach with the internet during COVID. And in South Carolina alone, 6% of children nobody could find them. They couldn't call them, they couldn't reach them to be able to do their schoolwork. So I would say this push, I've really worked hard. I asked the state chamber to put together a committee. We asked the delegation to send a letter, and they unanimously did, all Republicans and Democrats, to the president, saying how much it mattered, because there's so much of South Carolina that's rural and there's no internet connectivity. But there's also, Two Notch Road, there are places that do not have connectivity. So I've been a real active advocate for that. And I would say another thing, I recently toured the Empowerment Center that Reverend Charles Jackson started in Casey, West Columbia area, about 5 minutes from Nephron. And they've won, I don't know how many AAU state championships in multiple sports. Most all of the children are children of need, children that need to be fed, children that need to, may have clothing needs or money needs. And I think when we take care of the children that are already on this planet that need so much, not unlike what happened after the explosion in Lebanon. I mean, these are causes. The children don't ask to be in that situation. So I'd say anything that I do that I can empower or gentrify children, help them with education, that's just, it's a must. And I love doing it.
Um, you touched a very, very sensitive point when you mentioned the explosion in Lebanon. And I am so thankful for, like, you don't know what to do. Like people like me who are abroad, I posted something and you just reacted and donated instantly. So that is something that's very, very dear to me. This speaks highly of you because you know nothing of Lebanon besides me. I mean, this is
and great food.
And my yes. So I want to switch gears in the discussion a little bit and talk a little bit about the innovation of manufacturing at Nephron. I mean, the amount of awards you got from the Global Facility of the Year in 2017 by ISPE, which led you to become part of the judge panel, and you're now part of the board of directors. So I want to scroll a couple of pictures from the facility, and I want to talk a little bit about these pictures. So I'm going to start with this picture. So what is it that we're seeing here?
Okay, so this is a 9,000 kg tank, and we make at least 50 million doses a month of albuterol. So this tank would hold 4-day. The lot size absolutely stays in operation for 4 days, and each lot yields 2.5 million doses. And one blow fill seal line, these tanks are attached to our technology, which is blow fill seal technology. One delivers 18 million doses a month. So it's very, very high throughput. It's a very niche technology that was only invented in 1963, blow fill seal technology. It's made by a German company. The maker's name is Romalog, and these tanks are custom built just for those products. And they're so very expensive. Like all of our equipment is typically made in either Germany, Switzerland, Italy. Most all of it is European. A couple of things are American-made robots, but most of the robotics are going to come from Europe. And this is our chemistry lab. That's Nathan and I think Ashley working together. And both of these guys.
I have to stop you. I want to tell a personal story, and I don't know if even you remember it. I want to tell a personal story. So when we met the first time, we were invited for a dinner like 3-4, I don't remember how many years ago at Nephron. And I happened to be so lucky sitting on the same table with you. And then we went on the tour, and I've noticed this. I'm going to tell out something that I do. I try to memorize students' names because if you call a student by his name, like they suddenly have your attention, and and this helps them with the learning process. But in a company where you have more than 1,000 employees, to know the names, just like what you're doing right now. I mean, this is Nathan, this is Ashley. I remember you during the tour saying hi to everyone by name, and most importantly, the cleaning ladies. Yes. I was like, okay, she has memorized a couple of names. Okay, she's trying to impress us. But then suddenly a cleaning lady is passing by, and you're like, hello, and you say her name. So that
was Janice. I do remember. It was Janice.
So I feel this creates like a family-like feeling within the company that everyone feels they participate, right?
Yes. I mean, we're getting to the point now where I don't know, like, for example, the night shift, but I definitely know the management team. And so when I'm giving a tour, there's always going to be management on the floor. Now, I know a lot of them, and I know a lot of the teachers' names as well. because you have to remember, I went to kindergarten, to middle school, high school, and college in this town. So, a lot of these people that work at Nephron, I have some personal relationship with. They might have been a classmate, they might have been children of my friends, so it helps a little bit too to know so many folks because I grew up here. But the lady that you see in the front of the picture is our chief scientific officer. She did her undergrad chemistry work at University of South Carolina and her PhD work at Emory. And Nathan's part of and leads the R&D chemists. We have now 28 R&D chemists working on product development, scale up, development for other partners across the world. We've got a partnership with a Canadian pharma company, one based out of New Jersey. We just launched an eye or ophthalmic product. So there's a lot of things going on at our company.
So I have a question, a little bit more details. So what is it that what is it like? What does a chemist? I mean, I understand pharmaceuticals is heavy on chemistry, but what is so let me say what's on my mind so that I clarify the picture. If I'm interested in finding a new medicine for something, is this what you guys are doing in that department?
Not typically. R&D for our company could be developing a new delivery mechanism. So let me give you an example. Ashley and Nathan worked on a project about a year and a half ago. We have some IP around it, and I won't tell you the product, but what they've done is developed a way to take the dry powder inhalers and drive them into solutions so they can be used in a nebulizer, which is a much less expensive for the patient way to deliver their medications. So these dry powder inhalers you see, like Advair, for example, the purple disc, those things are like $300 a pop. Well, that's not everyday man affordable. If we put this into solution, we can deliver the medication, at 50 cents a dose. Not, it's much cheaper. A month supply could be $5, not $300. So we think that this is a whole new line of products. Our first one, we hope to get a new drug approval, which will be a branded approval, not a generic one. So R&D might be something novel, a twist on something that exists, or it might be they're trying to develop a droplet size for an eye drop, or they're, and I will tell you, the Italians gave us the idea to think about driving this dry powder into solution, but the idea they suggested didn't work. Those two people that you saw in the photo, they actually developed it, and we'll get some IP around it for them. And so I'm pleased that things, even though that seems like a small deal, it's really a big deal because it's going to, as soon as we get the first one out, I'm sure others will copy if they can figure out how to do it. And we will have been able to get some exclusivity because it is a novel idea. I believe the filing will be a 505(b)(2), which means not entirely new, but a novel approach to something that already exists. So we're looking forward to a line of products like that coming out in 2021 and 22.
That's awesome. So
this is a blow fill seal line. So let me just
for people that don't know what does
I'll explain.
Go ahead.
Behind at the very back of the picture is a big bunch of metal, right? That is the blow fill seal equipment. It is known by the agency as advanced sterile aseptic filling with no human intervention. So plastic resin is piped into the equipment and extruded. Needles are inside the equipment. So you actually form and fill the product inside this and seal it before the drugs come out of the window. Now, what's going on in the rest of the line is leak detection, deflashing the medication so that excess plastic is sent to the regrind station and we recycle. And then at the very end of the line, those are all robotics made by Bosch. And that just allows us to stack vials into trays, take the trays and build pallets. And then that last step there is to build the pallet, and a laser guided vehicle would be arrive as soon as the pallet is finished automatically and take it into the secondary packaging building for final wrapping and cartoning, as well as put into shippers ready for a customer.
So the manufacturing is happening in these, like, so basically what we're seeing in here is two cells, and
yes, it's divided by the higher level of clean room, and the extruder part of it is on a little bit lower grade clean room, and then the rest of this outside is, and you're looking at two specific lines there, is all clean and classified. Now the thing in the very center of both of the filling lines is a tube system like you see at the bank, and it allows us to send samples up to the chemistry and micro lab for testing.
Okay, awesome. This is super.
But look what you don't see, people. So all of this, there's one QA person that goes back and forth on the two lines, or you might see an engineer make an adjustment. But unless it's changeover time, you don't see any humans. It's all automated. And this particular line, each one that you see side by side, produces 18.5 million doses a month, around 18 million.
This is awesome, and a lot of people are throwing in comments that this is a great talk. This is great, good presentation explanation. This is awesome, and actually, Mansour is saying that this is how you transform community into a higher level. I guess this comments is relevant to how you integrate the teachers.
Yes. And we have now 13 of these filling lines. When you first visited us, we only had 8. So we've expanded. Now this is, we finished an expansion last year and spent about, 25 or 30 million. It's to the right of these lines. And then right now in the thick of it, we have 200,000 square feet because we've outgrown our automated warehouse. We use an Italian warehouse system where we have 9 laser-guided vehicles that travel throughout the facility, integrating, from filling into packaging and then also into warehousing. So we are expanding that by 200,000 square feet. Then as soon as that is complete, we have already moved the dirt. We'll begin 110,000 square feet where we hope to get into the filling of vaccines and antibiotics and chemotherapeutic agents. Those are a different type clean room than you see at the back of this picture. And that will allow us to hopefully be able to help with this vaccine filling from the pandemic, because we expect there to be a glass shortage. And we know that we can fill vaccines in plastic using this same blow fill seal technology. So it's my effort to quickly get that building underway, and hopefully by the first quarter have this equipment under roof. And we're excited because we own some equipment that we never brought from us when we were headquartered in Florida. So I've already owned the equipment. We don't have to wait 12 to 18 months to have it custom made. And we'll be able to get right into the business of filling vaccines if AstraZeneca or Johnson & Johnson or Moderna, whoever gets one early on, may need some extra capacity. And we've let the federal government know that we're putting this in, and we'll be ready hopefully in the first quarter.
That's awesome. So I have a question for you is asking about, is it easy for you to hire like qualified personnel?
Yes, we are so lucky that the University of South Carolina has such fantastic, well-educated students. And we also are not fighting with the Research Triangle in North Carolina, where there's so many companies together. They're, often competing for the same, students out of UNC and NC State. So I'm telling you, we have a wealth of students coming from our liberal arts colleges, Clemson, all our research universities, Clemson, South Carolina, as well as MUSC. And I last week visited College of Charleston, and they've got a really, really strong coding department. And I told them I want to start recruiting from that school. But let me tell you a fantastic story. Not all students maybe are, suited for a pharmacy degree. They may not have the money or the time. They may need to, or even an engineering degree. I asked my friends, a professor named Jerry Elwine, and he actually built a curriculum for a 4-year liberal arts pharmaceutical manufacturing degree, and that starts in fall. And that's another way that we have success in our state, because we're a smaller state and we know one another. I actually asked him, did he think he could do it? And within 6 months, he built the curriculum, got it all approved, and Newberry College will be having a 4-year pharmaceutical manufacturing degree where it's intro to chemistry, intro to sterility and microbiology, a little bit about process and engineering, but not on such a high level or specific level like a biomechanical engineering or biomedical engineering degree.
So this is awesome. I'm gonna switch to this picture. What is it that we're seeing in here?
Okay, these are sterile pharmacy techs that are in a clean room, certainly fully gowned, and they are hand filling, if you will, using a repeater pump or peristaltic pump, syringes that will go to the hospitals for any of the products they may have on their drug shortage list. So we have automated filling equipment that these sterile techs operate, as well as they can do aseptic filling under a laminar airflow hood inside of a clean room, on a smaller scale for little boutique needs, if you will.
So there's a comment saying automation, it enhances efficiency and at the same time elevates human skills. Do you agree with that? What's your take on that?
I think that absolutely, just like you see in this picture, we started this division using people and their skills. Yet, to the comment about labor, there's not enough of these sterile pharmacy techs to go around. So right away, we decided we could find some off-the-shelf, custom but already existing syringe filling, but we felt like since we couldn't find enough of these particular techs, we reached out to you and your team, Rami, along with the Department of Pharmacy, and we're able to, and I hope you have a picture of what your students made. We have this robotic filling that your students and you and other professors worked on, and what we want to do is get that robotic, just repeat what the human hands are doing. Place the syringe on the pump, put the cap on, and place it in a tote. And your students have figured it out. We're so very proud of it. And what we'd like to do is turn that also into a business, because we know all the hospitals need this. And it's a way to avoid potential personnel monitoring excursions. Someone didn't do enough IPA on their gloves and let it have enough contact time. We may get a hit in the clean room. And so this is why we thought this robot was a great opportunity. It's a clean room design robot. And in fact, we're doing a presentation about all the robotics at Nephron, and we've featured your student's robot as the last slide to show it starts in the classroom, but can end up on the manufacturing floor or in a clean room.
I didn't know if we're authorized to talk about that in public. This is why I don't have it on the charts. But I'm glad.
Are you kidding me? I'm so proud of what your team did. I need to get like 12 of them built. That's what I really need.
That's awesome. I'm gonna give a shout out to John Diamond, John Cutler, Will Sinkin. I'm gonna forget someone. So there's 3 students teams so far that have been working very, very hard on this, and I'm so glad this is a large team effort. And I'm gonna try to find a slide and one of the pictures just to show it, because this is a real good success story. So,
and if you don't get it on before we have to conclude, you should put it on your LinkedIn and say, a big shout out to your students, because they knocked it out of the park, in my opinion.
I have it ready, so I hope it's gonna work. Let me try to switch gears. I think this is a video of what they've done.
Yeah, that's the earlier prototype. Now we're using the white Yaskawa clean room one.
You authorized me to play the video, right?
Yeah.
All right. So let me go ahead and. So this is a little bit the project Lou's talking about. It's really.
And it's even been perfected since this.
So
how cool is this? I mean, you guys are such geniuses. I love it.
And this is why this is what's impressive. I just want to say something to people listening to us. This is a senior design project that started, that has opened up endless possibilities, all the way to the hiring of a couple of those students and so on. So I'm glad that I got to play this. So I'm glad my OCD everything is organized so I can find it very quickly.
I put you on the spot. I'm sorry.
No,
But
this is there is another video. Let me play it. It's actually up close from the pickup from the system. And this is the filling. I'm excited to see when this actually switches and becomes to. So we have a comment from Noble on the syringe is a win-win-win proposition, and that is totally true. It's an impressive win for industry, for academia, and for the state as a whole. All right,
so
cool.
the final iteration now is we've moved it into the clean room and that we built on campus, right? That's the last picture I showed in our presentation on robotics. And the next step will be to commercialize it and sell some and hopefully put some money back into the engineering program at USC.
That's music, pure music. So there's so much to talk about, and we have only a little bit left of time. I want to talk a little bit about SC Bio. You're the
Yes.
chairman of SC Bio.
Yes.
What is the main role of SC Bio? What is it that you're trying to promote, and like, what does it mean to chair SC Bio?
Well, first of all, the CEO of SC Bio happens to be a friend and almost like a brother from another mother. We've known each other since first grade, and we have a birthday that's only 3 days apart in the same year. So we're quite similar, and he's a big adrenaline guy too. So anyway, I like working with him. The executive committee and the board are all just rock stars across our state. It's an opportunity for us to link the people that run healthcare life sciences companies all across our state. And believe it or not, the economist Joey Van Nessen from the Darla Moore School of Business did a study, and we're equal representation across the lower part of the state, the Midlands, and the upstate. So we have the fastest growing sector in South Carolina, outpacing automotive and aerospace, is healthcare life sciences. It's a $12 billion a year industry and growing. And so we make devices in South Carolina, we make capacitors, we make leads for EKG machines, we make nutraceuticals in the state. There's so many things. There's the largest capacitor company in the world is based out of Fountain Inn, a company called AVX. I think one of their physicists, Craig Nyes, often does some adjunct professor work with the engineering school. His name is Craig Nyes. Anyway, there's so much talent, and all along I felt like it was a thing only in the Research Triangle in the Raleigh-Durham area. No, we have a tremendous presence. And one thing that I treasure most about working on the SC Bio forefront is that I've made at least 3 connections where we're working together, and we'd never have met one another if we weren't attending these meetings. So as it turns out, if not one of the leading clinical trial companies in the country for respiratory is based in Greenville, has locations in Spartanburg and opening in Columbia. So this guy that's an hour from here is actually doing the trials for every one of the vaccines that the president has commissioned right here in South Carolina. Those trials are going on. So he started first with the Moderna trials, and every blockbuster respiratory med that's been announced in the last 2 decades, he's done all the trials. Now, I met him 2 months ago. He's been doing this for almost the same number of years as me, and I'm in the respiratory business, and there are only 2 of us in the country that make all of these respiratory nebulizer solutions in America. 2. And we're both based in Columbia, South Carolina. So when you think about that, it's pretty impressive because they have almost as much market share as us. So just imagine 2 billion doses of respiratory meds that it takes for America. It's all being produced. Literally, we're 17 miles from each other on I-77. So it's a pretty impressive thing. And there's so much R&D work that's either being generated out of the 3 research universities. I mean, you've got a colleague, Melissa Moss, that's doing a great body of work in the biomedical engineering school over there. There's a guy, Dr. Jacobo Mincer. He's down at Roper St. Francis doing fantastic work with producing clinical trials and working on Alzheimer's. He and I have a project to do a treatment for Alzheimer's. We hopefully could launch that in 2021. And there's just a lot going on. And I wouldn't have met him were it not for he tuned in to an SC Bio webinar that we did and found out about us and called. And now he and I have become friends only since, like, I would say June. So there's a lot of opportunity, and there are a lot of, and the other thing I'll tell you about South Carolina students, what I find is if you're already from South Carolina, you tend to want to stay near your parents because the parents of South Carolina become the babysitters when you get married. They hunt, they fish, they do all these hobbies together. So if the student doesn't find a job right after undergraduate school, they tend to go back and get another degree. So frankly, we have more PhDs at Nephron in South Carolina times probably 10 than we did in Orlando. I had 2 PhD folks at Nephron in Orlando. I can't even tell you the count anymore. Probably like 30, 40, something like that. I mean, a lot of PhD, and then folks that are currently working on their PhD and working at Nephron. So we've got a lot of talent in our state. It's remarkable.
Do you have a internal program where like they can be working and doing on their PhD and like they have like do you have like a internal educational program for employees, or they do it on their own?
It's not official, but I'm forever doing things. So I'm so proud that yesterday or day before, 10 people attended for the last, I don't know, 6-9 months, our very first Lean Six Sigma class taught by 2 University of South Carolina professors. I paid, it was a $5,000 value to each student. They ended up with their presentations and received their green belt just 2 days ago. They did a fantastic job. And the teams were divided into 2, 5 and 5. And the 2 projects that they presented to obtain or achieve their green belt, they're going to, both of them save me well over $1 million in efficiency for next year. So whoop, whoop, it's big news.
This is what you just said is what I always say. Investment in education always pays off, and the return on investment is guaranteed. I mean, if I put in the numbers that you just said, 50, 100,000 paid or whatever X amount, in return 10 times fold in decrease of cost and in efficiency. I mean, that goes a long way. Lou?
Well, we have 25 PharmDs doing rotations every month, so they can learn regulatory things. They learn small batch formulation, large batch formulation, R&D chemistry. They can do go into the clean room and fill. They can work on the production equipment. We have, we probably have, I bet 50 to 20 PharmDs at our company. Many of them graduated from the pharmacy programs at a couple from PC, mostly from the University of South Carolina, but also 1 or 2 that were from South University's pharmacy program. So I'm telling you, when the person asks about the talent, I'm very quick to brag about all the team members at Nephron and what they can do, what they can accomplish. I feel like inspired every day by that. And it makes me feel like I really left a lot on the table in school. I wasn't a very big achiever compared to what I see today. These kids are solving things, inventing things, just so incredible what they do. I mean, there's so much talent.
So you might not believe it, but we are like 5 minutes away from the end of the hour, and I'm not even through half of what I wanted to ask you. So there's going to be a follow up in 2021 to this. I want to close it with a couple of things. First of all, I mean, the amount of award you've received and the high level of awards are, I'm going to mention a couple of them. You have the Ernst& Young's Entrepreneur of the Year, Outstanding Leadership Award from NAM, the National Association of Manufacturers, and the Step Ahead Women's event. You have the highest civilian honor in South Carolina, where you received the Order of the Palmetto from Governor Nikki Haley. So there's so much that you've received. But my final question is, what, you and Bill, both of you, and a big shout out to Bill, both of you have made lifting up students and faculty at the University of South Carolina like a big part of your legacy. Why is that? Okay, I love it, but what gives you this drive?
Well, our first sizable donation was to the pharmacy school back in 2010. And my husband said some really neat words at that time, but I'll give you this one line. He said, without my pharmacy degree, I couldn't have achieved any of these accomplishments in life. And I want to make sure there's scholarship money and opportunities for future pharmacists. I mean, my husband led a large public company that he sold in 97 for almost $1 billion. He built the beginning of Nephron, and then I took over in 2007, and it's grown so much. It even I have realized I need help, right? And so I look at it like this. My husband didn't have running water in his home until he was 5 years old. He helped his father put in the system, and neither of his parents were able to attend college, and he wanted to get up and get out of the little teeny community. He grew up in the upper part of the state called Glen Springs, and he thought a pharmacy degree would afford him that opportunity. But what I can tell you is, while he ruined the class curve because he completely aced his organic chemistry class, and I think the other students were unhappy with him, he is really built more like, I call him a surgeon with a P&L sheet. He's wired much more like a business guy than a typical pharmacist with a lot of caregiving traits. So I think I feel fortunate. I grew up in a middle-class family. I told you my mom was a teacher. My father was the responsible for maintenance at an Eastman Kodak plant. And so, I feel honored to get to work on boilers and chillers like my father did. Not many girls can say that. And so, he would come home late many nights. Oh, we had a boiler down or chiller. Well, I get to experience that at Nephron, even though my boilers and chillers are a lot smaller than the ones that he maintained. So I think it's just, I wake up every day thankful for the ability to get to do what I do and provide, a good number of jobs. I know that the median income in South Carolina is somewhere in the 30s, and our average income at Nephron is double that, in the mid 70s. And so even that makes me feel good that I can do that for a place where I grew up. My first subdivision, my first house when I was 2, when we first moved to South Carolina, is really about 7 minutes from Nephron. So I'm literally right back in my first original hood.
You're back to where it matters. So Lou, and I'm gonna ask everyone on the chat to please press this little clap button. Press a thank you to Lou. The amount of, I have witnessed firsthand the amount of amazing things you do for the community, for the university, for the humanity at large. So thank you so much for that. The hour passed by like this. I'm still baffled that we're already done. Thank you so much for this, Lou. All the best for you, and looking forward for the next chats together. Is there any final words you want to say?
I wish I was looking at all of the credentials of the folks that were making comments. I wish we had time to interview each one of them. I think I could learn so much, and I wish I had that opportunity. I'm always admiring how smart you are, and I'm sure that your colleagues and friends are as well.
Thank you so much. It's I love the people that tune into the show. There's a lot of people that are naturally curious about things, and this opportunity for us to chat about something is always, is always elevating. So thank you so much, Lou, and till the next time. Ciao.
Thank you.
Bye bye.